Hello, everybody. Welcome to the STIHL TIMBERSPORTS German Pro Championship 2023 from the Seaside Beach location in Baldenei. There are our German commentators on the right. On the right is Guido, on the left Marcus. They will be running the show for you in German, and my name is Troy Mannering. I'll be taking care of the action on the English side for our live stream around the world on YouTube and Facebook. We thank you for joining us here today, and we are going to see some fantastic action on this stage with axe and saw today as we vie to see who will be our German champion 2023. Will Danny Martin maintain and retain his title, or will one of the other gentlemen that's going to be competing here today take that away from him and be representing Germany at the World Championships this November? It's still all to play for, with plenty of action coming your way here, and we're going to head up onto the main stage shortly and find out who is who and where is what.
Essen, ein herzliches
And there we have our stage moderator, field reporter, Toby Witten on stage. He's going to be keeping the...
Schön, dass ihr euren Weg an den Baldenei See gefunden habt und schön, dass ihr miterleben wollt, wer heute deutscher Meister wird. Die 10 besten Athleten der Nation treten heute in 6 Disziplinen gegeneinander an. 3-mal die Axt, 3-mal die Säge und am Ende werden wir alle wissen, wer sich die Krone aufsetzt. Und wisst ihr eigentlich was genau dort, wo ihr jetzt sitzt? Oder
so, really quick explanation. Chobi is giving the audience here that's live on site for what is going to be going on. We're going to see 6 disciplines over 3 rounds and 10 athletes competing against each other to try and get the quickest possible time and make it to the final round of 6 with the hot saw. But first they have to get through the underhand chop, the stock saw, the standing block chop, the single buck, and the springboard before we get to the very final discipline, and that is the King's discipline here, the maker or the breaker. We'll find out more about that as we get closer to it. In the meantime, let's bring out some important people onto the main stage that are going to be responsible for the action on stage in just a second.
Einen großen Applaus bitte für Judge Nummer 1 aus Great Britain, Andy Hall.
So here come our judges from Great Britain. Andrew Hall, he's going to be on stage making sure that everything is fair and square, along with our second judge, Dr. Jörg Kurzenberger.
Und wir haben noch einen dritten Judge im Commission Control.
Now, we also do have the Competition Control Center. This is a very, very important aspect of this particular job here. And there we see Schul Janssen in the Competition Control Center. All of those TV screens and cameras and everything that are on stage are taking a very, very close look with super high-speed close-up cameras to make sure that everything that happens on that stage during the competition is fair and square. Now, let's meet our 10 athletes that are going to be coming up on stage competing today in the German Pro Championship. Let's start off with Mr. Markus Dengler.
Hier in Essen am Start. Aus Widdern, Markus Dengler.
So Marcus has been around this sport for a long time. He has pedigree, has skills, he has the determination. Will he be good enough today to take over the top spot? There are many other athletes here that are going to be doing their damnedest to try and not let that happen. The next guy coming up is Andreas Auenhammer. He is a big man. He is a strong man. Is it his time today? Andreas Auenhammer. 40 years young, 100 kilograms heavy or light, depending on how you look at it. He's a big boy at 6'2", 190 centimeters, and he really needs to put on a show today. Up next, we have Nils Müller.
Auch bringt sehr, sehr viel Erfahrung mit. Seit 12 Jahren STIHL Timbersports.
He was 5th at the German Jugendreich Cup in 2014. He hasn't had a lot of results since then. So we'll be looking for him to do well today. Stefan Odvarka coming up on stage right now. Stefan Odvarka has been competing for several years. He's gotten 4th place at the National Pro Championship back in 2017, 6th at the Team World Championship in 2016. That was the last time the World Championships were in Stuttgart, which is where they're going to be again this year. Coming up on stage now, Christoph Lang. Watched him warming up his saw earlier on. He's looking pretty good. He is on point and may well be one of the guys who we want to keep a close eye on today. He's strong, he's ready, he is prepared. Next up is Danny Vielwert. So Danny Vielwert, not long out of the rookies, has stepped up to the pros, will be competing with the pros today. He's one of those guys that Germany is looking at to be the next stage of evolution for pro steel timber sports. A man coming up onto the stage now who's been around for a long time. He was the captain of the team at the team competition. He's got a ton of experience, and he is still definitely in the mix. There he is, Peter Bauer. One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet in steel timber sports as well, always with a big grin on his face, but when he gets on stage, it's all business. Now, next coming up onto the stage is one of those young men that's been just a year outside of being a rookie. Marcel Steinkemper is that guy who may well be the one to take away that top spot from Danny Martin. They work together, they train together. Marcel is in form. He just needs to make sure he can put it all together and keep his head on straight during the competition today. Next up, one of the granddaddy caddies for timber sports, Stefan Graf. He's been around for a while. 5th place National Pro Championship in 2021, 6th place at the Team World Championship in 2017. He's got some results under his belt, so he may well be another one to keep an eye on here today. And of course, there's the 3-time German champion, and the hopes are lying on this man here, Danny Martin, to take it all the way this year at the World Championships, but he's got to get through that list of 9 men first. The hopes are high, and Danny Martin is always consistent and strong. Sometimes it's about the wood, sometimes it's about the athlete, sometimes it's a mix of both, and we'll see how it all breaks down today for these guys.
Ja, und wie ich vorhin schon gesagt habe, wir sind heute weltweit auch im Stream zu sehen. Und ihr habt sie vorhin schon mal auf der Leinwand erhaschen können.
All right, so let's take a quick look now at how this competition works with our competition format.
Auf diesem Planeten mitzuverfolgen. Ich gebe ab an meine Kollegen an, Guido Hüsken und Markus Philipp.
All right, back in studio with Guido and Marcus. We'll take a look at that competition format clip shortly to give you an idea of how this competition breaks down during the 3 rounds and all of the different disciplines that happen within those 3 rounds. Let's take a quick look at that right now. The STIHL TIMBERSPORTS individual competition. In the first round, all athletes compete in 3 disciplines: the underhand chop, the stock saw, and the standing block chop. The times achieved will be converted into points upon completion of each discipline. In round 1, a difference of 1 point applies in each discipline, thus the fastest athlete received 12 points and the slowest only 1 point. Any rule infraction will result in a disqualification, and the athlete will receive 0 points for that discipline. At the end of the first round, the athletes with the lowest scores are eliminated. Only 8 athletes make it to the second round. In this second round, the remaining athletes compete in the single buck and the springboard for increased scores. With 2 points difference between placings, the fastest athlete now receives 16 points and the slowest receives 2. The 2 athletes with the lowest total points are eliminated at the end of round 2. Only the top 6 reach the third round. In the third round, anything is still possible in the hot saw, as an increased score interval of 3 points applies in this final round. The fastest athlete can score up to 18 points at the hot saw, the slowest only 3 points. The athlete who manages to achieve the highest total score across all 3 rounds is the new champion. So there you have it. That is our competition format and how things are going to work here today. And we are going to jump into action fairly quickly with our first discipline, the underhand chop. And before we get into that, let's take a look at the tool and discipline, underhand chop. The axes used in timber sports definitely can't be bought at your local hardware store. Made from special steel, the blade is hand sanded with an angle of 13 to 16 degrees. It's custom built and carefully adjusted for each competition. The weight is around 3 kilos and it's about 80 centimeters long. The blade is so sharp that you could shave with it. Underhand chop. In the past, the underhand chop technique was used to split logs. Standing on a horizontally anchored block, the athletes cut through a 32 centimeter log. The block has to be worked from both sides. All right, so there we have the start list for our underhand chop. Now you do see they are in heats. We'll see Marcus Dengler going up against Andreas Auenhammer in that first heat. But what we should also point out, and this is going to be the same situation throughout the entire day, that this is not an elimination setup. The idea here is to have both athletes on stage battling against each other, but it is about the times that these guys achieve during each of these disciplines, the fastest times getting the most points, and so on and so forth as we move down to the bottom of the list. And then at the end of the day, the guy with the most amount of points, as you saw from the competition format clip, is your winner. So there we see our 2 athletes going to be coming out on stage, Marcus Dengler and Andreas Auenhammer. And you can see, tail of the tape, their personal bests are not that far apart from each other, 37 and 38 seconds and change respectively. So let's see how this first heat of the day gets things going and how these 2 guys manage it up against each other.
All right, athletes, ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Great start by both of these guys, Marcus Dengler and Andreas Auenhammer, going 2 for 2 on each side as they try and chip out those blocks as much as possible. Andreas Auenhammer in the red shirt on the far side of the stage there seems to have a little bit more wood hanging on for dear life, whereas Marcus Dengler has gotten in very clean on that first side. Auenhammer a little bit steppy on that first side. Let's see who's going to switch over to the other side. It's going to be Auenhammer over to the other side with a bit of a sticky axe, as Marcus Dengler is working on his second side now. They do have to cut through from both sides of the block. Accuracy and power are also very important. You can hammer away all you want with as much power, but if you don't have those angles nice and clean and your accuracy is a bit off, you're cutting new wood every time. As we're getting close to a split block, and it's Marcus Dengler with a 47.77. Andreas Auenhammer has gotten there, but it's taken him a little bit longer than expected getting through that second side with a 56.67. So pace well off of the favorites or the best times for both of these guys. And that could be a sign of things to come for the way the wood is hammering today. We'll see.
Okay, both cuts are good.
All right, so no disqualifications there, and if we do have one, we'll explain the reasoning behind that. There are a couple of things that can happen, but it's a very nice start by both Marcus and Andreas here. It was Andreas that actually, if I saw that correctly, it was Andreas that got over to the other side of his block just ahead of Marcus Dengler, but the second side of the block for Marcus Dengler was nice and clean, and he actually got through there in 47 and change. Now, after the adjustment from the Competition Control Center, it was 47.57, so he lost 0.2 of a second there in the timing, and Andreas Auenhammer's official time is 56.49. Should also point out that the times that you see immediately after the stop of the clock on the screen is unofficial, and that's a nice swing through there by Marcus Dengler, keeping control of that axe, and the final driver there by Andreas Auenhammer to get through and step down off of his block. Okay. So the first heat is in the books, and we're going to be moving on to the second heat as our, we'll call them the pit crew, get ready. And look at the views here. An absolutely fantastic backdrop for us today with those Ford vehicles parked on the beach and the boats sailing back and forth in the background. And somebody's even set anchor there to watch from the other side the action on stage here from the water. Views don't get better than that, folks, and I tell you, they've done a great job in finding a location and ordering the perfect weather for the day. Next heat up, Stefan Odvarka going up against Stefan Graf. Tail of the tape has a slight advantage for that man right there. Stefan Odvarka with a 31 and change best time. Stefan Graf slightly slower in his personal best, but that's never really a telling sign when the guys are cutting well and things are going clean. Let's see how it goes between these two.
Athletes, ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Stefan Odvarka on the left with the yellow parts of his shirt, and Stefan Graf on the right with the white and blue, or blue and white in this case. Both of them getting into the cuts nice and clean. A bit of a sticky axe there for Odvarka, but you can see those sides are nice and clean. Very accurate hits there. And both of these guys, and it's actually Stefan Odvarka who's moved over to the other side of his block quite quickly, trying to get into it. Stefan Graf has joined him now about 4 hits behind, but Odvarka with a definite advantage here. Can Graf catch up in this situation and get a good time? They're both passing their personal best by a stretch here now, and we can see that the wood is cutting a little bit different for all of these guys today. A step down by Odvarka, but smart of him to step back up before he takes that final swing. That could be a disqualification situation there, but I don't think we're going to have an issue as he has got the experience. Stefan Graf with a 50.95. Again, those times are unofficial until our competition control center makes the last minute adjustments and we get the thumbs up from our stage judges.
Both cuts are good.
So Dr. Jörg Kurzenberger gives us the thumbs up. Both cuts are good for Stefan Odvarka and Stefan Graf. And there you can see the minor adjustments there with Stefan Graf having a 50.65. And Stefan Odvarka takes over the top spot in the underhand chop results with a 44.45. So it is pretty clear that the cut, or the wood, is cutting a little bit slower than what these guys have had before. And so it shows us that in the first 2 heats, the wood is definitely fair. You'll get more information on how this competition wood is taken care of and harvested as well a little bit later on in the show. At least I hope so. But in the meantime, we can see that the wood is definitely cutting quite fair as the times are pretty on par with each other so far. You can see that quick little step down by Odvarka. He had the wherewithal to make sure he stepped back up before he swung that axe. I did say that could be disqualification, and that only happens in the case where he swings that axe while his foot is on the ground. So that's a safety aspect too. These guys have to be on the block, standing on their footholds before they can swing that axe. Stand-up paddling, one of those other activities that happens quite frequently out here on the lake. And the conditions couldn't be better for today. Slight breeze, beautiful sunshine, and our next heat up with Nils Müller going up against Christoph Lang. As I mentioned, Christoph Lang, very, very strong. Look for him to do well today. Niels Müller has a ton of experience. He is also incredibly strong. And with the axe in hand, you don't want to mess with him.
All right. Athletes, ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Christoph Lang, one of the new generation of timber sports athletes that gets out there with those quick drivers. And you can see both of these guys getting into it right away. Niels Müller also very fast with that axe and nice drivers. Oh, he got a big sticky one there though as he shifts down and starts to hit low, a little bit steppy on the right side of Christoph Lang's block there as Müller is already over to the other side driving well into that block, and Christoph Lang is also over on the other side of his block. He's got a big wide open second face there as he takes a moment, but it is a great time by Niels Müller with a 31-14 to get through that block. Christoph Lang struggling on that second side, a little bit too much material left over there, and a 39-8-9, but that's going to put those two gentlemen atop these underhand chop results right away, with Niels Müller the fastest time of the day and the time to beat after adjustment, a 30.86. Christoph Lang with a 39.70. Great job by those two.
Both cuts are good.
All right, thumbs up for both of those guys. You can see the adjusted times for both of them as well. So the two fastest times of the day with 2 more heats to go. And let's take a look back here. Christoph Lang was into it so quickly. Niels was about a half a stroke behind at the start, but man, they just got into it super quick. Nice, quick, frequent drivers into the block. Accuracy was very good for Niels Müller on the first side of his. Christoph Lang a little bit steppy there on the right side of his block, and that could be where he ran into problems on that second side. Let's see which of these two guys that. There you go, Niels Müller stepping over to the other side. A little bit of a bobble as he regained his composure on the block, and here's that final drive through by Niels as he stopped the clock at 30.86. And right there you can see those steps and that second side just causing a little bit of problem for Christoph Lang. Nevertheless, he's got a good fast time with a 39.70. Well cut for both of those guys. And there you see the Ford Raptor in front of the stage here for all to see. All right. A couple of guys that know each other well from the rookies, Marcel Steinkemper and Danny Vielwert, and now both of them competing in the pro level. Marcel Steinkemper right there has been now a pro. This will be his second full season as a pro, if I'm not mistaken, and Danny Vielwert has just jumped up to the pros from last season. So he has competed in the past on single events, but this time will be a proper season of pro for him.
3, 2, 1, go!
Or at least this season will be where he starts his pro career, I should say, and both of them getting into the block right away. Marcel Steinkemper with a bit of a sticky axe there, Danny Vielwert as well. Both of them chipping out some nice big pieces, and it's going to be Marcel. Oh, look at that! Both of them around at about the same time, but their driver came down on point with each other as they work on that second side. Here we have Marcel getting in there hard with some big drivers. Danny Vielwert, a little bit of a wider open face, and he's got it with a personal best of 29.04. A fantastic time for Danny Vielwert as he has just jumped atop the underhand chop results with Marcel Steinkemper in third place with a time of 31.48. Let's see if that changes after adjustment, but I don't think it's going to get him up into second place there. Niels Müller still holding on to that one, but that was a beautiful run by Danny Vielwert.
Okay, both cuts are good.
All right, so there we see 31.14 after adjustment. Not quite enough to get him into second place, but Marcel Steinkemper will be happy at the moment with third. And Danny Vielwert, our first personal best of the day, at the top of the underhand chop results with a 28.81, the first guy to drop under the 30-second mark here. So a fantastic run by Danny Vielwert and a very good job to really put the pressure on our next two athletes coming up on stage, which will be Danny Martin and Peter Bauer. And there you could see the crew getting up on stage to reset those stands, and you can see right there a bit of a sticky axe on that first couple of drivers for Danny Fjellvert, but he got into it and then got going real quick. Now, on the transition was quite interesting because it was actually Marcel Steinkemper that moved over ahead of Fjellvert, but watch this. They both drove at almost exactly the same time, and that was just a really great final run for both of these guys. And that last driver from Fjellvert, just a fantastic hit for him. And a personal best, so fantastic. Absolutely amazing from Denny. Good job. All right, next heat coming up on stage. Our last heat in this first discipline is going to be between Danny Martin and Peter Bauer. Danny Martin, the three-time German champion, looking for a four-peat and looking for a spot at the World Championship. But there's a lot of pressure on him here today to maintain that top position and be the one representing Germany at the World Championships in November in Stuttgart. And every other one of the 9 guys that are on stage as well want to do that very same thing. Here we go.
To your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Good start. Peter Bauer and Danny Martin, both with plenty of experience. Peter Bauer being around the sport for a long, long time. Danny Martin competing for many years himself, and Danny Martin absolutely a talent here as he switches over to the other side of that block very quickly. He's a good 7 or 8 drivers ahead of Peter Bauer on that second side, and let's see if we have an incredibly fast time from Danny Martin. Looks like we're going to, with a 22.86, the first man under 25 seconds there, and first place Peter Bauer with a 29.59. That puts him in third place. That shifts everybody in the list down a little bit. Danny Martin in top spot, though, with a great time of 22.86. Danny Fjellvert right behind him with a 28.81. And then Peter Bauer in third place at the moment.
Okay, both guns are good.
So that was a great heat right there. Danny Martin showing the skill level that he has, absolutely dominating this one so far with a 22.49. That is 6 seconds faster than Danny Fjellvert. So, albeit he's got a personal best, Danny Fjellvert is in second place. That's a great job by him. And there you see the underhand chop results. And because this is our first discipline of 6, the rankings stay as they are. And so Danny Martin right now atop the overall rankings with a great win here in the underhand chop. Danny Fjellvert, a very good job sitting in second place. And there you can see the point distribution in the overall standings, as that is exactly the same points as we see in the underhand chop. So back in studio with our 2 live commentators in German, and we will get that stage set up for our next discipline, which is the stock saw. And that is basically a motor saw or a chainsaw, if you like, that has nothing done to it. And a little bit more information about the stock saw you'll check out here in the tool and discipline for our next discipline. So as I was saying, Stefan Graf and the crew will be pushing hard to try and catch up with Danny Martin and take away that 3 times title from him. He has a lot of targets on his back today, but one thing that he is very good is when it comes to motor saws. Let's take a look now at the tool and discipline for stock saw. The STIHL MS661CM stock saw is used in STIHL Timbersports as the ultimate test of operator skill. Designed for the toughest jobs in forestry, it produces approximately 7.3 horsepower, has a displacement of 91.1 cc, and weighs 7.4 kilograms. To ensure evenly and fairly matched saws, professional steel technicians prepare and test the saws before each competition. Stock saw. After the starting shot, the contestants have to cut 2 wooden discs, so-called cookies, within a 10-centimeter mark, one downward and one upward. The attempt is only valid when both discs have been cut off completely and within the marks. All right, so here we have our stock saw start list. Again, head-to-head heats, but not elimination heats. That happens first after our third discipline in round 1, where we will lose a couple of athletes. So Stefan Graf will be going up against Marcus Dengler in this first heat as the folks enjoy the waterway in behind us. And there we see our guys. Now Stefan Graf definitely with a very nice personal best of 9:54 and a personal best of 10:60 something, 10:46, excuse me, for Marcus Dengler. Should also point out that the world record for the stock saw is 8.51,
right,
held by Ole Magnus Huljeberget from Norway. He got that at the Nordic Pro Championship back in 2021. Still hasn't been broken. So as we saw, the blocks were cutting a little bit slower, and rule of thumb is when the blocks are chopping slower, they usually saw faster. So let's see if that is actually the case here today. Here we go.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So remember, these guys got to cut 2 cookies, and that is a very nice start by Stefan Graf, but that is a massively thick starting cookie. Got to be real careful that you don't cut over the line or cut an incomplete cookie, because that could mean that you've got problems, and it looks like that is the case for Stefan Graf right away. I do believe we have an incomplete cookie on that second one. Look at the size of that first cookie, though. Definitely not going with the thin to win concept here, and we may have a problem for Stefan Graf. Marcus Dengler, in the meanwhile, it seems like he's got also a pretty fat cookie on the deck. Did he cut over the line? He looks pretty close to it from that view through the legs of the boys there, so let's have a look. Ooh, very close to the line, my goodness. In the background, you can hear the tension ramps up for these two gentlemen.
Okay, both cuts are good.
Oh, wow. I thought we would for sure have ourselves a problem with a couple of those cuts, but no, sir. Both cuts are good. So Marcus Dengler actually locks himself a personal best with a 10:32. Now, those first 2 cookies by both of these gentlemen were absolutely massive. Look at the size of that thing. You could float the Titanic with that. Now, right there, good recognition by Stefan Graf. He noticed he had a cutout, so he went back down and restarted the cut. That's going to slow his time down, but at least he's got himself a complete cookie. And there, with Marcus Dengler very close to the line, and he looked a little bit worried at the end of that cut there that he was so close to the line with a couple of really fat cookies. Remember, it's only 10 centimeters to cut those 2 cookies. That's not a lot of space. And Stefan Graf right away thought, oh no. So lucky to be good, good to be lucky. Both of those guys get fair cuts. Times not really what Stefan Graf wanted for sure. Marcus Dengler will take a personal best out of that, though, which he'll be happy about. And we like to see that as well, because that just means there's improvement happening each time. All right. Next up, heat number 2, Andreas Auenhammer against Stefan Odwarka. Both of these guys cutting pretty evenly with the stock saw. Let's see if that changes here today as we see Andreas marking his block.
All right. Warm up your saw.
So you'll see some of the guys, they mark the blocks with grease pens, what we saw Andreas Auenhammer doing. Some of the guys won't bother. They'll just use the existing lines that are there and do their best to try and make sure they stay within their lines. Here we go.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Ooh, a little bit of a bobble by Andreas Auenhammer to get that saw up there, but he's got a nice first cookie. Transition for Odwarka was beautiful. He's got that upcut going. Auenhammer's going to be clean. Both of them very nice times. A personal best, though, for Andreas Auenhammer with a 10:41. Stefan Odwarka with a 10:29. Ooh, interesting. So there's going to be some adjustments there for sure. Let's see how this affects the standings there. It looks like all of them, or both of those, excuse me, will have personal best, though. Let's see.
Both cuts are good.
Oh, there you have it. Auenhammer with a 10:30 and Odwarka with a 10:15. Stefan Odwarka takes the top spot in the stock saw results so far, and Andreas Auenhammer second place. So you can see the little bobble. It was a very quick start by Odwarka, but Andreas Auenhammer had a very nice first cut. Odwarka's transition, however, to the upcut was so smooth. It was buttery. Transition here was a bit of a swing down, and that was the difference maker right there. Andreas Lang come out onto the stage. So Christoph Lang, plenty of experience with motor saws in hand. German national record at 8 and change. And if he can pick that saw up that quickly and get going, you're going to have no problem at all in this heat. Marcel Steinkemper.
All right. Warm up your saw.
Super focused this weekend. He says he wants to compete and compete hard. He's right there at the cusp of taking over that top spot for Germany. And if he can in fact do that, he will be competing on Germany's behalf at the Worlds. But there's a lot of talent on stage here today.
Athletes, ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Oh, very nice start by Christoph Lang, as expected. Great transition by Marcel Steinkemper as he's clean through the top of that block and a personal best of 10:01. Great job by Marcel. Christoph Lang with a 10:55, a little bit slower than what he's used to, but Marcel Steinkemper with a great cut. And there's a piece of that cookie that broke off at the bottom, but if they can puzzle it back into position, that will count as a complete cookie. That's something that our judges are actually very, very adept at, is putting these puzzle pieces back together.
Okay, both cuts are good.
So Marcel Steinkemper, after adjustment, gets a 9.93, a personal best for him. Christoph Lang with a 10.41, sitting down in 5th place. This is how close together these times are. It's only 2 seconds between the top and the bottom here. And that is actually just 48 hundredths of a second between 1st and 5th place here. So that's not a lot of space. So it's really tight competition as we see just a bit of a swing down on the transition for Christoph Lang, which we're not really used to seeing. And Marcel Steinkemper's was a little bit quicker on the transition, and that made the difference for him on that upcut. You can see the focus on his face right there, making sure he's got a clean cut through. So Christoph Lang, 10.41, Marcel Steinkemper, a 9.93. Great job. And the two of them giving each other grief on stage in the best possible way. Super fun. And looking through my window out onto the stage here, it looks like our stage is ready for the next heat coming up. And that's going to be Danny Fielwert going up against Peter Bauer. And so far, Danny Fielwert has shown he has got the chops. He is sitting in 2nd place in the overall standings before this event, just behind Danny Martin. So let's see if he can have a good cut here in Stocksaw.
All right. Warm up your saw. Athletes, ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Beautiful start by both of these guys. Fielwert with a pretty massive first cookie. Bauer with a beautiful transition, though, on the upcuts, looking good for Peter Bauer. He's got it 10.25. Danny Fielwert with a personal best 10.78. And that is a good job for him. That puts him in 3rd place in the overall standings. That's a nice jump in the spots for him. And currently in Stocksaw, Denny with 7th place. So he's got some points there with one more heat to go.
Okay, both cuts are good.
He almost looks disappointed with that cut, but it's a personal best. He'll take it. And I believe we're going to see Denny with personal best throughout the day, as this will be his first pro competition. Yeah, you can see there a bit of a hover before he got into the cut, so he picked up and got there quickly, but just wanted to make sure he was online. There's a transition, though, from Peter Bauer. Absolutely fantastic. Thin to win on that 2nd cookie. That's about as accurate as it gets. Very, very nicely pulled there. Should mention that Denny Fjellvedt had 5th place at the European Nations Rookie Cup 2022, 12th in 2021. So that's a big improvement for that young man. And he has competed in a couple of pro events this year. He's got a personal best for himself in hot saw at the German Ford Ranger Cup earlier on this season, and a personal best in Springboard with 2 boards. So he does have a little bit of experience, but this year will be his first year competing with the pros, and last season was the last rookie campaign for him.
Your saw.
All right. Last heat in stock saw, Niels Müller going up against Danny Martin.
Athletes, ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So Danny Martin is an absolutely top-notch sawyer with the motor saw in hand. You can see his start was lightning fast, and boy, that is a great time right there for Danny Martin. 9:20, another win in the books for a discipline for Danny Martin, and he is well on his way to being the man of the day here. We don't want to jinx him, but that was a fantastic cut for Danny Martin. Marcel Steinkemper's 9.93 was just a hair slower than Danny's there, and Peter Bauer sitting in 3rd place in the stock saw. And that was a great heat. Niels Müller with a 10.53 is sitting in 8th place in the stock saw results, and that puts Danny Martin, Peter Bauer, and Marcel Steinkemper in the top 3 spots in the overall ranking. So Peter Bauer, been around the sport for an all-time long time, since prior to 2014 when he competed in the Jürgen Heinrich Cup in 2014, the European Trophy in 2017. He was ranked 12th national. I mean, he's been all over the map with some high and middle of the road results since 2017 as a pro. So he is right there in the mix today, and we can see in stock saw he is sitting in 3rd place. Danny Martin and Marcel Steinkemper, the top 2 positions in stock saw. That's a great job by Marcel Steinkemper, because let's see what that does to the overall standings here as we take a look at that. That's going to shift things around a little bit. Yeah, Danny Martin on top with 24 points. Peter Bauer only 4 points back, and 5 points back of him is Marcel Steinkemper. So he is definitely in the mix in this first round. Remember, the top 8 athletes going through from this first round into the second round, and our next discipline coming up will be the standing block chop. So lots of action still to come. We're 2 disciplines in from 3 in rounds number 1. One more discipline, the standing block chop, to come, and then we will eliminate a couple of athletes from our list as we go on to round number 2 when it starts to really ramp up. In the meantime, we're going to step out for a quick look at one of our supporting sponsors. Okay, so our next discipline, as mentioned, is standing block chop. Let's take a look at the tool and discipline there. Standing block chop. At the standing block chop, the felling of a tree with an axe is simulated. A vertically positioned wooden block with a diameter of 30 centimeters has to be cut through both sides. A powerful and precise swing with the axe is the premise of a good result. All right, so there we have our start list for the standing block chop. And again, Danny Martin going up in the last heat. This time he'll go up against Marcel Steinkemper, being third in the overall standings here. And Peter Bauer will be in the heat just prior to heat number 4. So, folks, this is the last discipline before we eliminate a couple of athletes. And we start things off with Stefan Odwarka going up against Marcus Dengler. Stefan Odwarka has, in the last few years, hovered around the 5th place, 6th place, 7th place mark. So looking to do well here at the event today.
3, 2, 1, go!
Gets right into it, 2 down, 2 up rather, and then 2 down, and trying to get some nice chips out. It's looking like it's working well for Stefan Odwarka. Here, the angle of that axe and the accuracy is so important. Marcus Dengler looking good as well. Some nice chips coming off for him. Stefan Odwarka onto the other side of his block already. Stefan has the advantages that he is a tall man, so that he can step back from that block and really put power into it. Thing about it is, though, if you have a lot of power and you don't aim that axe just right, you're going to get it stuck. But Stefan Odwarka with a nice time, 33.45. Marcus Dengler, a little bit of a slip on that driver as he's trying to get through that second side, nearing the 50-second mark here. So again, the chopping disciplines are a little bit slower for all of these guys. A couple more drivers for Marcus Dengler should do it, and there it goes with a bullet. So 55.04 for Marcus, 33.45 unofficial at the moment for Stefan Odwarka. Quick block check by Dr. Jörg Kutzenberger.
Good.
And we've got a thumbs up for both cuts being good. So let's see, official timing has changed. We are now looking at 33.10 for Stefan Odwarka and 54.86 for Marcus Dengler. Now you may ask why unofficial and official. If we get another angle at some point of the stage front looking down towards the audience, there are 4 judges sitting at the front. Each of them have 2 timing buttons in their hands, 1 for each stand, or 2 for each stand rather. And so basically when they see that the athlete has stopped or the block is split, then they push the buttons, and that gives us our unofficial time. And then that time is taken another look at by our competition control center judge, Schul Janssen, to make the final adjustments, because very often the human aspect of it is a little bit slower than the machine aspect, and we get adjustments down. So that's good for the athletes as well. See the new Ford Bronco and the Ford Ranger there in the background. Beautiful vehicles on a beautiful location with some beautiful sport as our stands are ready. Man, these guys are quick on stage today. Our stage crews take a few minutes sometimes to get those stages set up, but boy, they're fast as lightning today. It's almost Formula One-like out there as Stefan Graf and Andreas Auenhammer come out onto the stage for their heat against each other. Stefan Graf, personal best of 26.99 in standing block.
All right. Athletes, ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So good start by Stefan Graf, who has the experience in this discipline, and tail of the tape gives him the slight advantage over Andreas Auenhammer. As he moves over to the other side, Andreas Auenhammer about 2 drivers behind Stefan Graf as he is now onto the other side of his block. You can see the markings on the block to give them their guidelines for how they want to hit and cut and what side is open. And looks like Stefan Graf is getting close to it. A great time of 29.22 puts him atop the standing block chop results. A couple more drivers should do it for Andreas Auenhammer, and another personal best for him. 36.05. He's going to be pleased by that. Improvements for him across the board over the last couple of years. He's looking good. So he's not far off the mark here. And that has him in third place for the moment with the personal best.
Okay, both cuts are good.
So I always like to say that personal bests are a great thing, and even if you think the time may be slower, for the athlete, the personal best means there's improvement in the way things are going. But you can see right off the bat, Andreas had 2 sticky axes on those initial drivers into the bottom, and that caused him a little bit of a draw to get back out and cut again. So those are always those times where you're going like, come on, you know, you got to get it in and out as quickly as possible. And that's where the accuracy plays such a big role. And that's where Stefan Graf was so good. He had nice, clean faces on all of his cuts almost all the way through. And that means he wasn't cutting new material each time. He didn't have very many steps there. So he was clean through with some good, powerful drivers that were super accurate that made the difference between the two of them. So for the moment, Stefan Graf leads the standing block chop results with our next heat coming up. Now in this next heat, we've got Denny Fjellvedt. He's very, very good in this discipline, and I hope he doesn't make me eat crow here. I'll have to talk to him if he doesn't do well in this one. He's going up against Niels Müller. Niels Müller also strong here in this discipline. And Niels Müller will definitely be giving Denny that adrenaline push to make it just a little bit faster on stage. Let's see if that's actually something that happens. Tail of the tape has the slight advantage going towards Niels, but Denny Fjellvedt, no slouch with 33.51. So looking for him to do well here in this discipline. So the question often comes up, Troy, why 2 axes? Well, we've seen it in competitions in the past. In fact, one of our Swedish contenders last year at the World Championship broke his axe in this discipline, had to remove the axe head from the block, go to his backup axe and continue cutting.
Ready.
So it does happen.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Good start by Niels Müller. Denny Fjellvedt, look at him breathing through each of those drivers, really trying to get into that block as much as he can. Look at those chips coming off for Fjellvedt, though, looking very good for him as he switches over to the other side, peeling that axe out as he comes around. Niels Müller hasn't gone over to the other side. Did Denny Fjellvedt go over too early, or are we going to have another personal best for Fjellvedt here? He's looking like he's getting pretty close to it. Oh my goodness, look at that block fly, a personal best of 25.82. What's happened with Niels Müller here? He took forever to get to the other side. Did he have a knot in that block or something? This is a tight one for him, and he is really struggling as he's gotten over to the other side of that block fairly quickly, and you can see some dark strands in that wood, which means it could be a little bit harder for him to cut through there. But that cut from Denny Fjellvedt was fantastic. A personal best of 25.82. Good job. And Niels Müller getting a lot of support from the audience here in the background with a great final cut driver through. But man, that was a slow cut for him today, and he will not be happy with that. So that motivation was definitely there for Denny Fjellvedt. He's got the top time today in standing blocks so far with a 25.51. Niels Müller having a look at his block just to see what might have been going on.
Good.
All right, so Niels Müller bringing up the bottom of the rankings so far in standing block chop with 2 more heats to go. Denny Fjellvedt atop those rankings with a 25.51. Let's take a look back here at the start. You can see some big drivers coming off of Niels there, and he was just taking a long time to chip out. Meanwhile, Denny Fjellvedt chipping out really nicely, some big pieces coming off. He was almost slabbing that block. He was driving so hard. You can see here, it took quite a few drivers for those chips to come out for Niels, and a couple of those drivers were pretty straight in. Second side here for Denny Fjellvedt. His angles were real nice, and you could see that block was just suffering under his attacks. And there was that final driver, and that final driver was so heavy he sent that block piece flying across. It actually tagged Niels Müller in the back of the leg before he had moved over to the other side. And Niels Müller, That's a face of disappointment right there. As you can see, he was not happy with that cut at all. All right, so next heat up will be heat number 4 of 5 between Christoph Lang and Peter Bauer. Both of these guys under 30 seconds. Danny Fjellvedt is the time to beat at the moment with a 25.51. Tail of the tape gives that possibility to Peter Bauer. Can he do it? Or will Christoph Lang make short work of this block? Let's see how these two can shake things up a little bit. You can see silver medalists.
All right.
This is a study in wood knowledge there from Peter Bauer as he walked that block several times just to get his movements on point.
Ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Christoph and Peter both going at it, but the speed of Christoph's drivers is impressive. He is just going for it with full power. Peter Bauer, good accuracy though as he steps into it. Who's going to switch over to the other side? I think it's going to be Christoph Lang. Yes, it is. Christoph Lang onto the other side of his block ahead of Peter Bauer. Peter Bauer now about 3 strokes behind Christoph Lang. Will we have a quick time here from Christoph? I think so. Maybe even a best time. Let's see if he can drop that block. One more driver. Oh, no! 2 more drivers should do it. It's wiggling and waggling, and it was holding on by a thread, and Peter Bauer actually managed to do it in 30.50. And Christoph Lang in 30.09. There's going to be some switches around, though, because they did stop the clock while Christoph was still driving, so somebody's got fast thumbs out there. So this is the one time where the time is going to be adjusted up, or rather slower, for Christoph Lang here. Yep, there's the adjustment's been made on my screen. 32.30 for Christoph here. But the cuts are good. So Peter Bauer, by virtue of a bit of a sticky thread for Christoph Lang at those last few drivers, and that has Christoph Lang in 4th place and Peter Bauer in 3rd place in the standing block. Danny Fjellvedt's time of 25.51 holds on. You can see both these guys just going at it. Bit of a sticky axe there by Peter Bauer. You can see the accuracy of Peter Bauer. That's the experience right there. And Christoph Lang, the power and the youth and vim and vigor, if you want to call it. He was over to the other side of that block quickly. Is that maybe the problem, that he didn't cut through deep enough on that first side? But look at the accuracy there. Bang! Wicket for Denny Martin. Marcel Steinkemper has been very, very good the last couple of seasons as well. And he's been making improvements on improvements. You could see tail of the tape gives the advantage to Denny Martin. And Marcel Steinkemper, if he can get close to that time, he'll be right there with Danny Fjellvedt at the top of the block here. But yeah, this is a discipline that's given Danny Martin fits in the last few years. So let's see if he can keep himself together in this one and how these two guys will go up against each other.
Athletes, ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So Marcel Steinkemper in the green, Danny Martin in the black, and look at these guys, they are in sync with each other on those first few drivers. Marcel Steinkemper chipping out really nicely. There's some big drivers there, a little bit steppy, but he doesn't care at this point. He wants to get through onto the other side. He's about a half a stroke to a stroke behind Danny Martin on that second side. Let's see how well they get through this as they get towards the 23, 24, 25 seconds. Oh! Marcel Steinkemper with a personal best 23.47. Danny Martin at 24.33. So Marcel at the top, Danny Martin in 2nd place, Danny Fjellvedt in 3rd place. That is a great look right there for all of those guys. And Marcel Steinkemper has just made his life a little bit easier as we end this round 1 in the 3rd discipline, standing block chop. I can't wait to look back at some of the slow-mos here because that was a great heat. And Marcel Steinkemper taking the personal best home. Fantastic.
Okay, both cuts are good.
Marcel pushed Danny Martin right to the brink on this one. Danny with a 23.99 after adjustment. Marcel Steinkemper with a 23.28. Let's look at this again. I think this is 2nd side here for both of these guys as they are just going bananas on these blocks. And there's a little bit of a slippy one there for Marcel Steinkemper, but doesn't really matter. He managed to get it off. No wrenching at all needed as he cut through there very nicely. You can see Danny Martin's sides are very, very clean, barely any stepping, and look at that final driver, fantastic cut through. That's about as beauty as it gets from Danny. 23.99, and that's a good sign for Danny Martin when he is on point in this discipline. So standing block has Marcel atop the ranking, Danny Martin in second, and Denny Fielwert in third. Let's see how that affects the overall standings here. So in the overall standings, there's some adjustment here. Danny Martin maintains his lead, but by only 4 points ahead of Marcel Steinkemper. Peter Bauer a few points back of Marcel Steinkemper, and Denny Fielwert jumps up into the 4th place position as we lose Andreas Auenhammer and Markus Dengler from the competition as we move into our next round shortly. So let's take a look how that discipline and ranking looks when we take a look at the round 1 placings here. So there you see the standing block chop getting put into position. We'll take the top 8 athletes in the overall ranking. That means Andreas Auenhammer and Markus Dengler both eliminated from competition today, unfortunately. And meanwhile, Denny Martin, Marcel Steinkemper, and Peter Bauer atop the rankings in positions 1, 2, and 3 respectively. So as we get ready for round number 2 has 2 disciplines in it. That's the single buck and the springboard. So let's take a look at what the single buck is all about. The 2-meter-long cross-cut saw used for the single buck discipline is made especially for competition. A series of consistently patterned 10-centimeter-long teeth are cut with a laser on one side of the saw and then hand-sharpened. Saw teeth are divided into 2 types, cutters and rakers, just like on the old-school saws. The saw weighs about 5 kilos and its base price starts at around 1,500 euros. Single buck. The single buck is a one-man saw about 2 meters long. With this, the athletes have to cut off a complete disc of a 46-centimeter thick wooden block. The perfect interplay between rhythm and strength is the key to success. All right, not wasting any time, we're getting right into it. The single buck, and we are now down to 8 athletes, 4 heats, and here is our lineup. Stefan Graf, Nils Müller, Christoph Lang, Stefan Odwarka, Denny Fielwert, Peter Bauer, Marcel Steinkemper, and Danny Martin. So there is a nickname for this particular tool in this discipline, the 2-meter-long crosscut saw, which you just heard about in the description of the tool and discipline. But a lot of guys also call it the misery whip, and we may well see why exactly it's called the misery whip. And when the situation arises where this nickname comes from, I'll explain it to you. But the one thing that I can tell you is that if this saw doesn't behave, if you do the wrong thing with this saw, small changes in the angle of the saw, and this particular tool will make you absolutely miserable, hence the name Misery Whip. And here comes Stefan Graf now with his saw as he gets ready. And you'll also see that some of the guys are wearing cleated shoes. The cleats on their shoes are like shot put or javelin cleats. They have cleats that go from the toe all the way back to the heel. In some cases, in fact, in Switzerland, there's a team that does wear golf shoes, which I think is quite funny because there are some of the ugliest shoes ever, but it's a thing. So, yeah. Basically, what the premise is those cleats will provide you with a little bit of extra grip on the floor for being able to push and draw that saw through the block. Now, some guys opt just to go with the normal sneakers. They feel more comfortable in that situation. Everybody has their own standards for how they want to participate in this discipline, and it doesn't really matter as long as the positioning of the saw is fair, and that's what they're checking right now as Andrew Hall Just has a quick check on Niels Müller's saw, and he'll slide that into position. No final cleanup cuts or anything like that for Niels Müller. Peter Bauer, or Stefan Graf, excuse me, getting ready as we will get heat number 1 in round 2 in single buck going.
Right. Athletes, ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
All right, good start by Stefan Graf as he opts to go for those long tip-to-knuckle drives as he goes through. Niels Müller opted for a couple of shorter starts, but then he gets right into those nice, long, clean, efficient cuts. Both of them looking good, but it looks like it's going to be Niels Müller getting through there in a 17.33, Stefan Graf in a 29.7. Nice start. Respectable times. Hi, Niels. All right.
Okay, both cuts are good.
Important that the guys come up into the decision zone here for that final thumbs up from our judges. And that means Niels Müller and Stefan Graf's cuts are both good. Now you can see here at the start, Niels going for a couple of short choppy cuts to start the saw moving and then gets into his long efficient cuts where Stefan Graf just basically started with those long cuts right from the get-go. Now important here is to keep that saw moving, to keep that flow going. It's a dance with the saw, and if your rhythm gets out of tune or out of cue or something changes in the angle of your cuts, then that saw can hook up and stop dead in its tracks. But this time both of these guys had nice clean movements throughout the entire cut and no breakaways or anything like that. So good job by Niels Müller and Stefan Graf. Our up-front audience has increased in size a little bit as well as they're enjoying the sunshine and a beverage. There's food and drink around the area as well as we get ready for heat number 2 in single buck between Christoph Lang and Stefan Odvarka. You can see there Christoph Lang 4th place at the National Pro Championship in 2022. Christoph's been a pro a couple of years now as well, so he is on the cusp of making that breakthrough season. He's had some good results in the past. Stefan Odvarka, there you can see 4th place National Pro Championship 2017. So he's been around for a while. He's got the pedigree, he's got that skill and the experience, and that says a lot for these guys. Experience plays such a massive role for so many of these athletes in these varying disciplines. Some guys have favorite disciplines, and some guys are good throughout all of the disciplines. All right, here we go. Christoph Lang, Stefan Odvarka.
All right. Athletes, ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Well, Christoph Lang getting into that quick, and he's not just quick, he's using long strokes as well. Stefan Odvarka, quite the same. He's a little bit slower on pace here, but Christoph Lang looking good as he's getting to the bottom of that cut in a fantastic 14.49, fastest time of the day, under 20 seconds, personal best. And Stefan Odvarka also under 20 seconds with a 19.51. Unbelievable time for Christoph Lang, though. Fantastic run for that man. So you can see there, the skill is there, the motivation is definitely there, and he has just put the time on the clock there for the fastest time of the day, and he is going to make everybody else think twice about what they're doing on stage now.
Okay, both cuts are good.
So Christoph Lang with the fastest time so far, under 15 seconds with a 14.20. Niels Müller just behind him in second place with a 17.09. Stefan Odvarka was quick, but not quite as quick as he could have been with a 19.30. And Stefan Graf with a 27.3. And that is your top 4 at the moment in single buck. But Christoph Lang just showed us what it looks like to be absolutely fantastic at single buck. getting into it deep, and that was a nice run. Stefano Dwarka, he knew he had some power on him. Oh, but that's where it got him, and that's why they call it the misery whip. It got a bit sticky on the draw through, and that slowed him down. Otherwise, he probably would have been a clean second faster. All right, so getting exciting now as we're in round number 2, discipline number 1 in round number 2, the single buck. And our next heat up, Denny Vielwert up against Peter Bauer. Now, the tail of the tape here is clearly on Peter Bauer's side. He knows exactly what needs to happen in this discipline. Peter Bauer is an exceptional single sawyer. Denny Vielwert has a time that is fair, but this is, to be fair to him, his first appearance, as you saw in the lower third there, his first appearance at a national pro championship. So there's a bit of pressure on him, but he seems to be handling it quite well. Andrew Hall, quick check with the gauge to make sure that Peter Bauer's saw is in position fair. And Denny Vielwert will be doing last-minute position checks to make sure that he is exactly where he wants to be. Now you can see Peter Bauer, spike shoes, Denny Vielwert, no spike shoes.
Ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
All right, so as you can see in the background there, Peter Bauer getting smooth into that saw. A bit of a sticky wicket there for Denny Vielwert as Peter Bauer is absolutely motoring through this cut. Tip to knuckles with his cut there, and he's got a great time of 16.42. That puts him in second place. And Denny Vielwert, he's got a 22.04. First time he hasn't gotten a personal best in a discipline today, so he'll be going back and thinking about that one a little bit, but you know, it's a great job, and Denny Vielwert is right now in 6th place in single buck. Peter Bauer just behind Christoph Lang in second place with a 16.21. Christoph Lang's 14.20 is an exceptionally good time here today.
Okay, both cuts are good.
All right, so there you go. Official time is 21.85 for Denny Vielwert and 16.21 for Peter Bauer. And you can see here, just a little bit chunky on the runs for Denny Vielwert. Meanwhile, Peter Bauer is just running through this block with some beautiful draws and pushes. You can see here Peter Bauer's final cut. Good finish for him. So that puts him strongly in second place here, and that should put him strongly in the top of the ranking for now, but we still have heat number 4 between Marcel Steinkemper and Danny Martin to come. And there you can see why they call it the misery whip, as Denny Vielwert at about the top of the stroke was a little bit harder to keep that thing going, and at the bottom of the stroke got a little bit hooked up on a couple of occasions. Speaking of hooked up, a few of those boats are hooked up with some good air out there on the water. All right, final heat here in single buck as we get ready with Marcel Steinkemper and Denny Martin. So both of these guys pretty close on the tail of the tape. Denny Martin, for sure, the faster. If Denny Martin can get even close to his best time, then he'll be atop the rankings again. He's won everything so far with the exception of the standing block chop where he only got second. So that says a lot. First in underhand, first in stock saw, second in standing block chop. Let's see how he fares in single buck.
All right. Athletes, ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
All right, both of these gentlemen getting going right quick. Marcel Steinkemper going for those hardcore quick strokes. He's not using the entire saw. It doesn't seem to matter. Denny Martin, his strokes are a bit slower, but he's using that saw very efficiently as he gets to the bottom in a 14.47. And that means he's in second place currently, with Steinkemper in fifth place, in the single buck with a time of 17.51. So close together, these top 5 times. Insane. Christoph Lang, though, with the fastest time of the day, 14.20, and it looks like that is going to stand. So this is the second place for Denny Martin, and that has him in good stead in the overall rankings, still atop the rankings. Peter Bauer, though, right there with him, 9 points back, and Marcel Steinkemper 10 points back. And both cuts are good for these guys, and that means single buck is done and dusted as we get ready to go on to one of the finickiest disciplines in the world, and that's the springboard coming up next. But let's take a look back here. And you can see it was a fast start by Marcel Steinkemper, but he wasn't using the entire saw. Denny Martin, meanwhile, got the saw going and started using the entire length of the saw. Super efficient cuts all the way to the bottom, and that final draw through, or push through in this case, was what got him a great time. Second place in single buck, and he's pleased by that. He stays atop the rankings with that second place. So 2 firsts and 2 seconds for Denny Martin. And Marcel Steinkemper got a little bit of work to go on that single buck, but he's not far off the mark. So Steinkemper in 5th place there. Nils Müller, Peter Bauer, Denny Martin, and Christoph Lang with an absolute blistering 14:20 today and a personal best. Great job by him. Let's take a look at the overall standings here. Denny Martin back on top, 49 points, as I mentioned. Peter Bauer 9 points back of him, and Marcel Steinkemper 10 points back. So that means there's still room for these guys in the top 4 positions to move up in the springboard, but they have to have absolutely fantastic times in the springboard. Now, this is also a discipline that can be really difficult because you have to cut those pockets so accurately and so quickly. You want to get up into that top position as quickly as possible and not waste any time messing around down below. And now the springboard is one of those disciplines that really requires pretty much every amount of chopping and skill that you have as a timber sports athlete. You'll see a little bit more about the discipline shortly as we'll take a look there. So as you see in the background there, as our 2 German moderators take care of our German audience, the stands are being placed. So you can see up at about 2.5 meters in the air is that small block. So basically this is a standing block chop on a springboard way up high. And let's take a look here at what we had in the last days. We had the newcomers and the women's competition. The women's competition dominated by Alren Ubing, who is the strongest.
Ja, und jetzt ist sie hier, die deutsche Meisterin, frisch gekürt gestern von 2023, Alrun Übing. Alrun, erste Frage, wie hast du es gestern gefeiert, das erste Mal deutsche Meisterin geworden zu sein?
Wir haben gestern Abend schön zusammengesessen, haben schön gegessen und uns natürlich auch ein Bierchen dabei getrunken und es war ein gemütlicher Abend.
So the question was, how did you party being the first German champion for women? And she has a nice meal, sitting together, and of course a couple of beers.
Auch besonders an vielen internationalen Wettkämpfen teilzunehmen.
Ganz gewiss. Also es war sehr wichtig für mich, viele Wettkämpfe zu machen, auch international und einfach da Verbindungen zu knüpfen und auch mit.
So the question was rather that Alren's been participating in a lot of international competitions for women as well, and the answer is that it was done on purpose because she wanted to make sure that she was competing in as many international competitions as possible to make sure that her level was on par with the rest of the world, and it's clearly proven that way.
Im Publikum und auch im Livestream, herzlich willkommen. Empfehlen, diesen Sport einfach mal auszuprobieren?
Also es ist ein Ganzkörpersport. Man braucht halt nicht nur seine Arme, man braucht tatsächlich auch den ganzen Körper. Und man kann sich...
So the question is, would you recommend people trying this sport out? And the answer is, yeah, it's a complete full body sport. It's not just the arms, but it's your legs and your core, and you need to be completely fit. It's almost like CrossFit, except with dangerous tools in your hands.
Aber man kann halt doch mal seinen Körper auf eine ganz neue Art und Weise kennenlernen.
Das ist die amtierende deutsche Meisterin Alrun Übing. Dankeschön.
So Alrun Übing, the defending German champion for women, and we're going to get back to it in the studio. Great job. Congratulations to Alrun, one of the strongest women competitors in the world, in fact, but definitely in Germany, as she has proven here today. at the German World the Women's Championship, excuse me. Giving too many titles away already here. All right, let's take a look at our next discipline here, the Springboard, as we'll give you a quick display of what it's all about. Springboard. Springboard simulates the traditional way of felling trees, climbing up over thick roots. First, notches known as pockets are chopped into the log. 2 springboards are then anchored into these pockets. The athlete then climbs up to chop through a 27-centimeter thick block of wood in the fastest time possible. All right, so last discipline in round 2, and this is where it's coming down to getting the best time possible to try and gain as many points to maintain a position among the top 6 athletes, because after this discipline we will lose 2 more athletes as we go towards the hot saw. Our first heat today is going to be Stefan Graf going up against Nils Müller. So this is Springboard with 2 boards. Now the rookies, depending on how much practice they've had, will compete in Springboard with 1 board. And that's a great start into the competition because it's so important that you have a good knowledge of these tools and this discipline. Because once you've got that second springboard in, you're standing about 2 meters above the ground cutting a block, so you have to be confident. Here we go.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
All right, Stefan Graf with 6 hit pocket as he gets that first board in place. Nils Müller about 8-9 hits to get that board in place. First board is not so consequential as the second board. The second board needs to be bang on perfect in order for you to have the best position possible to cut that top block. Now, what's important here is these first 2 pockets that are set, or the 2 pockets that are set, need to be set as quickly as possible so you don't waste any time doing house cleaning in those pockets, and you can get your board in place and onto that top block. And you see right now that Stefan Graf is up there. Now, he's got a bit of a sag in his board, but it's not bad. My perspective here looking out the window, it's almost parallel to the ground, so that's quite okay. You can see there, it's a good solid board. Now, he's obviously not feeling 100% confident in the board because he doesn't have that back foot or his left foot all the way out towards the back, where he could realistically put a little bit more power into those drivers. He doesn't seem to be doing too badly, though. He's doing a little bit of house cleaning there on the top, moving some of that material out of the way. Now, they'll cut through very deep on the first side because cutting on the second side can be a little bit awkward. They also do have a time limit. So if the cuts go past 2 minutes and 30 seconds, there is a DQ for exceeding the time. So the guys have to be quick about getting through there and making sure that they get the fastest time possible, as always in these disciplines. And you can see Stefan Graf now switching to the backside, and he'll try and cut through there and get that block off the top in under the 2-minute time frame here, as he's just at 1:45 and counting. Getting a little bit sticky, maybe left a little bit too much on that front side as he wants to get it done. Looks like he's got it done in under 2 minutes there. Good job, 1:55.68. Nils Müller now hitting the 2-minute mark, and he is on that second side, so that's good for him. He's got 30 seconds or just under. Oh, yeah, and he's got it, no problem. 2:05.31 for both of these guys, and we're probably going to see some faster times as the day goes on. But the chopping disciplines have been a little bit slower for everybody today, so we'll see how this all plays out. But now you've seen your first springboard there, so that is one of the most difficult disciplines because there's so many things happening all at once, and it's not just happening at ground level either. It's happening 2 meters up in the air.
Okay, both cuts are good.
All right, times are locked in and official. 1:55.37 for Stefan Graf, 2:05.04 for Nils Müller. Those are the times to beat at the moment. So take a quick look back here. Now, this was a 6-hit pocket at the bottom for Stefan Graf. If I counted correctly, he may correct me later on, who knows. Sets that first board and starts getting to work on that second pocket. Here, Nils Müller on his second pocket before getting up there, and it took him a little bit longer to set that second pocket. You see Nils Müller doing a little bit of house cleaning. As I said, that does happen. You don't want to spend too much time doing that. That was actually a very good board up top, though. You just needed to have that confidence to step back on it, because the closer you are to the block, the more you're using your upper body and not your legs, not bringing your legs into play here. But a good job by Stefan to get through there in 155.37. No personal best here for either of these guys. They've had better before. Niels Müller with a 205.04. So stands for the second heat being brought into position, and we got a quick interview with Stefan Graf.
Na gut, ich könnte euch vorstellen, es kommt dann auf sehr viel Präzision an. Die Pockets, die wir reinschlagen, also diese Taschen, wenn die nicht optimal sind, dementsprechend hast du keine Balance und kein Stand für das Brett zum später Durchtrennen des Blocks.
So the question was, what's important about this here? And Stefan just reiterated what I was saying about those pockets being precise and well placed.
4 Schläge, wobei ich sage immer zu jedem, wenn er Nachwuchs ist, mach im Kopf 6. Wenn es bei 4 fertig ist, ist gut, aber lieber 6 und das im Kopf. Du richtig Vertrauen in das Brett hast, das hatte ich heute leider nicht so. Ja, das merkt man einfach beim Hacken oben.
Yeah, and I mentioned that as well, that the 4-hit pocket is optimal. He said the same thing. 6-hit pocket is what he had at the bottom. And, you know, having that confidence in the top board, which he even said himself that he didn't really have. So you could see that when he was on the board, that his back foot just wasn't out as far. So essentially what I said before, he just, you know, mirrored it. So that's great for me, because it means I was telling you exactly the right things. So hopefully I'm not stepping on anybody's toes out there. But yeah, I mean, that's exactly the thing. It's such a difficult discipline to become good at, because it is so much happening all at once. And Stefan Graf, he iterated that perfectly. You know, you have to have a good pocket. You have to feel confident in the pocket. So your 4 hits is the optimal pocket, but doing 6 just to feel confident about it is sometimes better. And you just don't want to take too much time house cleaning there with the upper pocket and making sure that you've got a good stable pocket for your board up top, and you can feel confident in your board when you're standing up there, because come on, let's be honest, folks, you don't want to be up there messing around. Speaking of messing around, the STIHL TIMBERSPORTS World Championships returns to Stuttgart. Here's what it should look like.
A new world record from Sterling Hart. To celebrate the 90th anniversary, STIHL has brought the STIHL TIMBERSPORTS World Championship back to Stuttgart.
I am so looking forward to the World Championships, the 3rd to 4th of November in Stuttgart at the Porsche Arena. The last time we were there, we saw some fantastic world records go out the window, and this time I'm hoping we see the same. It has been quite the year for world records for both the rookies and for the pros, and I am very much excited about how the atmosphere is going to be in that Porsche Arena. Meanwhile, the atmosphere here is fantastic. Beautiful weather, beautiful scenery, and a couple of pretty boys on stage. No, that's not fair. Christoph Lang and Stefan Odwarka going to get ready for their springboard heat.
Athletes, ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So that's a 4-hit pocket for Stefan Odwarka. Very, very nice. Christoph Lang still working on his lower pocket, and he sets his axe, gets the board in place, quick check, and moves up. Meanwhile, Stefan Odwarka setting his second pocket, looking good as he wedges out a couple bits of wood. He's about 6, 7 hits in, I think, on that one. He's got to make sure that he hasn't got too many steps in there as he gets that second board in place and climbs up. Looks like he has a nice angle on it. Does he feel good about it? That back foot's pretty far out to the back, and he can get started on that top block. Not a lot of sag as Christoph Lang sets his tooth into that second board and gets up top. Good angle for him, and he feels real good on that board by the looks of it. Back foot right out at the back, and he can put some power into the block. This may be an opportunity for Christoph Lang using his power to catch up with Stefan Odwarka, who's quite deep on the first side of his block here. Remember, these guys try and go super deep on the first side and switch to that awkward angle on the second side and get through as quickly as they can. Stefan looking very good as he's gotten deep in. Christoph Lang doing a good job to try and catch up as they're both nearing the 1 minute 20 second mark. And you can see how deep that's going for Stefano Dwarka. He'll switch now because he doesn't want to cut through from the one side only. That would be a DQ if that thing came off. And now it's wiggling and waggling, and there you go. 3 hits on the backside, 128.84. That's the fastest time so far. Christoph Lang working on his first side still. He still felt pretty good on that board. He looks really confident up there. So if he can get a board like that in the future really quickly and then start going quick on that block, he's going to look very good in this discipline as he's trying to get through a little bit too much material on the backside there. That angle is pretty high, but it should go any second now. He's got to keep that accuracy up. One more driver should do it. There it goes. 158.81. A great job. He'll take that personal best any day of the week. And that second board was absolutely beautiful for Christoph Lang. Great job by him to get a personal best in Springboard. That's difficult. But you could see how easy he made it look on those boards. And that is a man who has a ton of confidence in his skills. So that is a good thing. And Stefano Dwarka feeling good about how that went down for himself as well.
Are good.
So Christoph Lang with a personal best and Stefano Dwarka with the fastest time of the day so far at 128.61. Here, Stefano Dwarka had more or less a 4-hit pocket, if I counted correctly, and that's about as good as it gets right there. If you could do that twice, he locked that nicely. And here we are with Christoph Lang. I think that's his second pocket, but I can't tell from that angle. Stefano Dwarka, nice angle on his board. He looked pretty good up there as well, although that back foot could have been farther back. I love the position that Christoph Lang has on that board, though. He's got that back foot almost all the way at the back. He doesn't seem to be really worrying about what's happening with the board, and that's complete confidence in his ability there. Stefano Dwarka with a nice final driver to end the time, and took a couple here to get that off. But nice job by Christoph Lang, sitting in 3rd place in Springboard so far.
Ja, und bei mir steht er jetzt, Stefano Dwarka. Stefan, erstmal Glückwunsch zu dieser tollen Leistung. Ich habe gerade von Christoph Lang erfahren, das, was ihn am meisten fasziniert an STIHL Timbersports, ist das Werkzeug. Und du als Kfz-Meister weißt auch, der Schliff von so einer Axt, der muss perfekt sein. Was gibt es denn da für verschiedene Schliffe?
Ja, es gibt einmal verschiedene Grundschliffe. Das ist so die Charakteristik von der Axt. Wie die ins Holz geht, die geht auf verschiedenen Hölzern eben unterschiedlich gut. Und zum Schluss haben wir wirklich die Schärfe, die Schneide, die Schärfe, die wird von jedem Sportler mit einem Schleifstein abgezogen. Und da geht es halt darum, dass die Axt einmal tief ins Holz geht.
So the question was, the tools are very interesting, and the axe is particularly interesting. What's the different sharpenings? And the answer is there's basic so base cuts. So all the different kinds of cuts, like a banana or a wedge or a chisel, and then it's about the sharpness at the edge, you know, because each type of base cut cuts wood a bit differently.
Aber natürlich die Äxte, die Sägen gehören genauso dazu, und dem muss man auch eben Aufmerksamkeit widmen. Ne?
Ja, und wir sind gespannt, ob wir Stefano Dwarka gleich.
All right, so looking forward to the hot saw. The hot saw needs to run as well as the axes need to cut properly as well. And congratulations to Stefano Dwarka for a great time in the Springboard with a 128.61 that has him atop the Springboard results so far. And it looks like our boys on the stage have done another fantastic job of getting stands up again for heat number 3 coming up. And that's going to be between Denny Vielwert and Peter Bauer. So you can see Denny Vielwert's personal best time is over the 2-minute mark. Peter Bauer just over the 1-minute mark, but Denny has been working at this, so hopefully he will be ready to go for this discipline here today. And again, the pressure is on for his first appearance at a pro national championship. I don't know if maybe it's not fair to say the pressure is on, because there's really nothing weighing on him here. He can use this opportunity to gain that experience that's so critical in these various disciplines, but above all, being able to really lock down this particular discipline. The other ones, I think he can nail down pretty cleanly, and I hope to see a good time from Denny Vielwert today in Springboard. It's going to be interesting to watch this one. Can't say too much about Peter Bauer here, because the man is a legend in German STIHL Timbersports. He knows exactly what needs to happen, and there you go, like that.
All right.
That sportsmanship in the middle of the stage here.
Athletes, ready.
Stand to your timber.
Keep an eye on the count here,
3,
folks.
2, 1, go!
4 hits for Peter Bauer. He sets that board. Denny Fielvet, 6 hits. He's setting his board, looking good so far. Barely a check as Denny gets up onto his board. Peter Bauer a bit sticky, setting his second pocket. Denny Fielvet working on his second pocket now as well. A little bit of house cleaning there by Denny Fielvet. He's not seeing the way he wants to see it. Peter Bauer also struggling to get that second pocket set cleanly. And it looks like it's going to be Denny Fielvet getting his second board in position just ahead of Peter Bauer. But struggling to find the tooth hook in it. And I think if he gets that in there and gives it a little bit of pressure, he's going to have some sag. He's going to have enough sag to lock it in place. Seems like it. His angle is good. Peter Bauer trying to get up onto his second board. Denny Fielvet first to start on that top block, chipping out nicely. So it's looking good for Denny as they both move past the 1 minute and 5 second mark here. Peter Bauer starting on his top block. Denny Fielvet getting in a little bit deeper on the top of his. Now Denny stepped forward on his board a little bit. Seems to have that sag that's gotten him down to parallel, but that's okay. He's looking good and he's gotten nice and deep. And I'm pretty sure we're going to see Denny Fielvet with another personal best as he's been working hard to make sure that he has this discipline down and locked. He's gone deep on the first side. He's going to get a few bits more out of the way as he switches to the other side of that board as he's just passing the 135 mark here. And wow, Peter Bauer with 139.06 coming from behind, and Denny Fielvet with a 142.09 personal best. That is a huge improvement for Denny. A great job there as he can celebrate a personal best that was absolutely fantastic, taking him from a previous personal best time of 2:05 or 2:02, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but right now he has got the third fastest time in Springboard with a 142.09, and it's been corrected, excuse me, to 141.73. Peter Bauer in second place with a 138.74, and Stefano Dvarka still with the fastest time.
Both guns are good.
All right, what a great heat that was. I loved watching that one. I was quite surprised to see Denny Fielvet get those 2 pockets cut a little bit faster than Peter Bauer did. Now let's see, do we have Peter Bauer's stand here? Is that him? Yes, it is. You can see it was about a 6-hit pocket for Denny Fielvet as he wedges out there. He's got the board in place and setting those second pockets. And like I said, folks, getting those pockets placed as quickly as possible and making sure you've got a confident board and feel good on that board is so critical. You can see how far forward Denny Fielvet is, but he's got so much upper body power. It's insane. Peter Bauer, the difference there is he's got a lot of upper body power, but he stepped back on his board and really used that back leg to help him power through the block. And that, by virtue of that alone, helped him get through there a little bit faster. And Denny Fielvet's going to be super happy with that as well. Personal best at 141.73. So great job all around for these guys as the final stands get placed. And we're going to hear from Peter Bauer now.
Der Kapitän der deutschen Nationalmannschaft bei der Weltmeisterschaft am 3. und 4. November in Stuttgart. Peter, was steht in Sachen Vorbereitung vor der Weltmeisterschaft jetzt noch so an für euer Team?
Ja, bei uns ist jetzt so der Feinschliff, dass wir jede Disziplin aufs Optimum ausreizen, weil für uns herrscht einfach eine super Truppe. Wir haben alle motiviert und freuen uns auf Stuttgart.
So the question is, what's the preparation from the captain for the team competition? That's just and the answer was the fine little bits of last-minute polishing to make sure the team is really cutting optimally for the World Championships.
Sehr gut. Hat jetzt international, glaube ich, 2 Cups gewonnen und ich hoffe auf ihn, dass die nächsten Jahre noch so weitermacht. Dann ist stark im Team dabei. Ja.
Und blicken wir nochmal auf deine Leistung bis jetzt bei den deutschen Meisterschaften. Du hast gerade am Springboard ordentlich aufgeholt, dafür auch nochmal wichtige Punkte gesichert. Würdest du sagen, das große Finale der Hot Saw ist für dich
He
jetzt auch
just
nochmal
managed to get
persönlich
some
ein
important
Highlight, wo
points
sich
here in the
im Grunde auch
springboard. There's a
alles ändern
possibility
kann?
that could be representing Germany.
Ja, schauen wir mal, was so geht. Ich muss sagen, jetzt Springboard.
So let's see what happens. Springboard was okay,
War nicht ideal. Da hat er
not
Zeit
perfect,
verloren.
but
Wo man dann denkt, oben am Block da mal Gas geben.
yeah, they're just thinking about giving as much as you can on the block on top, and we'll see how things go.
Peter Bauer im großen Finale. Das ist dein Applaus. Peter Bauer.
All right, I'm pretty sure we're definitely going to see Peter Bauer in the final here going into the hot saw, but we do have one more heat still to come between Marcel Steinkemper and Danny Martin. Both of these guys have had good runs in the past on the springboard, and they both struggled in the past on the springboard. The difference here is that Danny Martin has the experience over Marcel Steinkemper, having just a couple years experience using the springboard. So this is something that is required by these athletes in order to have a, let's call it, permission to compete in the springboard. They have to have experience. They have to show that they can participate in this discipline safely and efficiently. Here we go.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So I think that's 5 hits from Danny Martin. He doesn't care. He wants that first pocket done and dusted out of the way, and he'll concentrate on the second pocket here. Marcel Steinkemper on his board as well, setting his second pocket now. Didn't get a count on those, but Marcel Steinkemper looking good as he sets that board in his second pocket. Danny Martin right there with him as they both climb up onto the top, and Marcel Steinkemper's got a significant amount of sag. He's going to want to start, but looks like he's going to have to go back down and do a little bit of housekeeping, and that is a problem for Marcel as Danny Martin's got a deep angle on his board, so he should have plenty of power off that back foot to cut through, and he is already well into that top board as Marcel tries to set the board in position again. Danny Martin nearing the 1 minute mark as he gets in on that first side. Oh, and it's sagging a bit, but Marcel Steinkemper can't afford to go back down and start adjusting again. And one little final piece for Danny Martin, and it's going to be a 106.80. So that's going to be the fastest time of the day for Danny Martin, and that is another win. 3 of 5 disciplines are wins for Danny Martin, and 2 second places. That puts him well into the lead as he will definitely go into the hot saw with a good point advantage. Marcel Steinkemper now, his fight is against the clock here to try and get through there in under 2 minutes 30. He should be able to do it even with that sagging board. Moving on to the backside there to try and get through as the time winds away on him. 1:45 creeping up here as a couple more drivers should do it to get through the backside, and he's got it in 1:48.26. So Marcel Steinkemper, 5th place in the springboard. And again, this is that experience that plays such a huge role, and you can see the sag in that board. And that's the first board we've seen today that's been kind of drowning down into the water a bit. And the disappointment by Marcel Steinkemper as he just couldn't seem to set that second pocket cleanly. Danny Martin, on the other hand, had a very, very nice springboard here with a 106.45. So he's got another win in the books as we close out round 2 with single buck and springboard done and dusted.
Okay, both cuts are good.
Also adjustments there, 147.84 for Marcel and 106.45 for Danny Martin official. As we'll take a look back at some of the slow-mos from that heat between these two gentlemen. So you can see there, Marcel just taking a little bit of that extra material out of the way, and then right there, there's that little step by Danny Martin. He didn't seem to be too concerned by it. The risk there is if the step is loose or could get kicked out by the springboard's tooth, then you got a problem. And you can see that board was starting to sag heavily by Marcel Steinkemper, and that could be exactly the case. It could be that Marcel's pocket wasn't very clean. Danny Martin just putting it all into that top block. Now you can see for Marcel, he had to step forward on the board, means that he can't use that back leg as much for the power that he needs to get through there. And Danny Martin had a big slab there. That caused problems for him because he needed to cut through that little last piece, but he'll take the win anyway at 106.45. Marcel, his battle was with the clock, as I mentioned, but still managed to get there in under 2 minutes. So great job by that young man with just a couple of years experience on those springboards. And definitely Danny Fielwert will take the personal best, Christoph Lang as well. So springboard at the moment, Martin on top, and let's take a look at how that affects the overall standings. Martin, Peter Bauer, and Marcel Steinkemper, 1, 2, and 3, stay the same in the top of the rankings with 65 points for Danny Martin, 52 points for Peter Bauer, and 47 points for Marcel Steinkemper. Now with 18 points up for grabs in the hot saw, there is a chance that things could change. Let's see who we're going to be losing here in this next round. It's going to be Niels Müller and Stefan Graf dropping out of the competition now, and we will move on with Danny Martin, Peter Bauer, Marcel Steinkemper, Stefan Odwarka, Christoph Lang, and Danny Fielwert into the hot saw. So, not a lot of surprises here as to who has made it into the hot saw rounds, and this is the round that they call the maker or the breaker. More on that a little bit later, but there's no denying that these saws are evil machines. The power of these saws is insane. We'll probably hear shortly the hot saws being warmed up in the background. They are so incredibly loud. Very often a motorcycle or a Ski-Doo engine is used for these saws, but it is unbelievable how much power they have. All right, so upcoming competitions. Well, folks, the only one for us after this is the Team World Championship and the Individual World Championship on the 3rd and 4th of November in Stuttgart. Right now, we are live here at the German Pro Championship in Essen, in beautiful Essen, Germany. And if you want to look back at some of the previous events through the season, they are all video on demand from Poland, the European Trophy, the US Pro, the Nordics, the Swiss, the Austrian, the European Nations Rookie Cup and Pro Cup. That was a great event as well. Some super action there. So if you want to look back at what was happening throughout the season, there is that opportunity as well. All right. I hope we get to hear some hot saws warming up soon. Now let's check out the maker or the breaker discipline. That is the hot saw. This is the one and only discipline where the athletes are alone on stage.
Yeah, probably the most important event, but yeah, also the most frustrating.
These saws are so incredibly powerful and dangerous.
Usually the hot saw is the slider.
Timber.
Hot saw, hot saw.
Like I can't describe to you when we're out there under pressure.
Saw starts well, first disc looks solid, cut is good.
You know, you're always ending the competition on a hot saw, so you know where you're going to be at when you finish. So you're either at a real big high or just is what it is.
Nice clean cuts, easy, relaxed.
Der Hot Saw ist für mich die geilste Disziplin der Welt.
5, 6, 8, Robert Ebner, 3 on the deck!
Hot saw is a love-hate for me. I honestly don't get that much enjoyment out of it. I'm not a motorhead. I swallow my pills and eat it.
Once the competition comes, anything can happen. Oh no, a false start by Sterling Hart. What a disaster.
Yeah, it was a disappointment for me. Happens though, it's part of competing.
I saw there's 3 good discs there, but then let that nose come right up underneath the crossover line.
Fortunately, a disqualification.
It all relies on the hot saw.
Oh no.
Irgendwie soll es einfach nicht sein. Und dann springt die Hot Saw nicht an, wieder mal.
Oh man, that is a bummer for Robert Ebner. What are you taking away from this event?
Oh, probably last place. I don't know, headache. Yeah, shit hot saw. What else do you want?
if you have bad luck or if you did wrong, it's sport, just your experience.
Oh my goodness. What an absolute disaster. The chain came off.
I was not disappointed because everybody see that I can be with the guys in front.
It was a bit of a disaster, so it was just operator error, and I didn't perform as well as I would have liked to.
Nice safe cut.
Oh no! Oh no!
Never prepared for that situation, but luckily I started and I got 3 wheels and now I'm the world champion.
Yeah, it's the make or break event, you know.
I think you love it and you hate it.
Das ist eigentlich immer ein geiles Ding. Ich schneide immer sehr sicher.
Oh, great start for both of these guys. Look at how quick it's going for Robert Ebner. Oh my God, Robert Ebner, he's got a world record. Holy smokes, folks.
Ich wollte das Ding heimbringen, ich wollte Weltrekord schneiden und ich danke meiner Familie zu Hause und alle, die mich unterstützt haben.
Just try to make 3 good cuts and no disqualification.
The hot saw is where it's all one, so that's the best event.
Starke Leistung. Mit dem Akkusystem von STIHL. Nur bei Ihrem STIHL-Fachhandel und auf STIHL.de.
Ja, herzlich willkommen, liebes Publikum, backstage.
There we have Toby backstage where the hot saws will be warmed up. The guys have to take a few precautions before they get these saws up on the stage. They have to make sure they have a quick warm-up. They also have to put on protective pants and clothing to make sure that they are safe from the chain in the occasion that it might fly off. That's also why there are those Lexon shields on stage and here in the back warm-up area. The one thing that you didn't hear from the hot saw maker breaker video that you just saw is the noise that these saws can generate. It's absolutely insane as Denny Fjellvert is going to start up his saw and you'll hear this. You can see the smoke rising off that chain as it travels around that bar at up to 250 kilometers per hour. That is insane power that these machines have. 2 different types of motors that they use here, the Wankel and the Rotax, and you can usually tell from the noise that they make which is which. The Rotax is the whinier, higher pitched one. The Wankel is the deep growly saw. I think most of the guys here are using the Rotax though. So we'll see how this plays out for the final 6 guys that have made it into this last round of competition here. Again, that man right there, Denny Fjellvert, he'll be going on stage along with Christoph Lang, then Stefano Dwarka. There's Christoph there. Stefano Dwarka, Marcel Steinkemper will battle each other on stage, and then Peter Bauer against Denny Martin, the 2 guys atop the ranking overall here. And again, a quick start by Christoph Lang to get that saw warmed up, and they'll be able to warm it up one more time on stage, just about getting all that carbon blowout and making sure that the saws are running clean. Listen, listen. Christoph Lang works with these on a regular basis, so he knows how these machines need to sound and feel. So it looked like a good clean start and run for Christoph Lang, as it appears as though the Lexon shields are ported and polished up on stage and ready to go, and we are down to getting our athletes up on stage for their heats. Stefano Dwarka stepping into the warm-up area now. Again, you see these guys wearing those cleated shoes. It's a really good view of those shoes right now. As you can see, just how much grip they need to have on that stage. Stefano Dwarka's exhaust seems to be hanging on by a thread there. That is shaken and bacon. Hopefully that doesn't cause problems for him during the competition. All right, so it's about that time as we get ready to go up on stage for our final discipline of the day. That is the hot saw. And first of all, let's take a quick look at the tool and discipline that is coming up next on stage. These custom, handmade race-tuned machines are built for maximum power and precision and to cut the wood as fast as possible in a competition. They are built with a 60 to 80 horsepower single-cylinder two-stroke engine, often taken from a snowmobile or high-powered motorbike. The hot saw can weigh up to 30 kilograms and its chain rotates at over 250 kilometers an hour. The cost of a competition hot saw used in STIHL Timbersports is upward of 6,000 euros. Hot saw. For the hot saw, power saws are called into action and the athletes have a space of 15 centimeters to cut 3 complete discs off a 46 centimeter thick wooden block. Jumping the start or cutting over the line will result in a disqualification. All right, there you have it, hot saw. 6 athletes remaining, 3 heats. Denny Vielwert and Christoph Lang will be the first athletes to come up on stage in heat number 1. Stefano Dwarka and Marcel Steinkemper have their saws warmed up in the background. And there will be 2 additional athletes, Peter Bauer and Denny Martin, warming up their saw shortly. Now, Denny Martin is an absolute master at this discipline. He did hold the world record for a short time there in this discipline, and that has only recently been broken by an American, Adam Lethko, at the Pro Semifinals Pool B in 2022, and that world record time is a 4.62. These saws are so powerful, you can see right there on screen, it's Guido explaining how the saw pulls in and drags your arm and has so much power, just wants to kick, and there's so much going on. And imagine trying to lift 30 kilograms of angry cat while it's trying to bite you and claw you. Well, that's more or less exactly what's happening with this hot saw. It is an angry piece of equipment that anything can happen. These highly tuned saws are so highly tuned that sometimes the power is just too much for the chain. The chain can come flying off. You saw that in the Maker or Breaker video. And if that chain does come flying off and hits one of those Lexon shields, or even worse, your leg, then you could have a real problem, which is one of the reasons why the athletes are required to wear Kevlar protective pants or chaps over top of their regular pants to be sure that they are safe from any eventuality here with this particular discipline, and in particular this particular tool. And if you see in the background on the stage, you can see those Lexon shields, which essentially are bulletproof glass to make sure that nothing goes flying at the other athletes or our cameramen or our judging staff or anybody else for that matter, because these machines are so very powerful and so very dangerous. So our first heat will be coming up onto stage shortly. That's going to be Denny Vielwert and Christoph Lang. And again, Denny Vielwert's first pro national competition. So it's a big deal for him to do well. He just needs to have a quick cut that's clean. Doesn't need to be mega fast, and he'll drop in with a personal best hopefully today. His current personal best is 9:02, so he's got a bit of work cut out, but the way he's been performing today, I would not be at all surprised to see him cut a personal best, but this is all up to the machine in this case. The operators we know are very good. The machines have to behave. All right, so the last 2 saws are being warmed up in the background, as you can hear, just the last bit of rumbling going on, and we will get these guys up on stage for our final 3 heats of the day to determine who is your German national champion and who will represent Germany at the World Championship individual competition. So there we have hot saw heat number 1. National record 4.84 held by Denny Martin. World record 4.62 held by Adam Lethko. Denny Fielwert with a personal best 9.02. Christoph Long with a personal best 6.88. Good times for these guys. A few seconds to kill in order to get to those national and world records. But you know, anything can happen with these tools. And if the operator and tool are working in sync with each other on a given day, anything can happen. And good things can happen too. This is all down to routine for these guys, especially guys that have been doing it for a while. They know where they want their saw, how they want that draw handle positioned, how they're going to lift and place. Small things can happen with the saw shaking. Like I said, it's like picking up a panther that's trying to bite and scratch you at the same time that you're trying to feed it. You know, there's no other real description than that, because this is a wild animal in their hands. Here we go. So the guys will be allowed to warm up their saw one last time on stage. Then the saw will go off, and it's a quasi cold start for these guys. So you can see those protective chaps that the guys are wearing. So many small things going on. The safety line being attached to the pull start.
30 seconds.
Folks, when this happens, don't blink. It's done in a flash. All right, here we go. Heat number 1, hot saw. This is for all the marbles and some good points for these guys. Let's get it on.
Athletes, ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Well, a bit of a stumble there as that beast wanted to push Danny Fielwert away, 10-17, so it looks like he does have a cut over the line maybe. I hope not. And we've got some big wedges there from him as well, so that's going to be determined by our judges. It looks very, very close, though, at the top, but the bottom seems fine, but it's the top that's the concern there. So I do think we might have a cut over the line. We'll see what the judges say here shortly. Meanwhile, Christoph Lang with a 6.33 personal best, a great cut. I really want to look back at the cut from Danny Fielwert. What happened there? It almost looked like it kicked him back and he slipped on some sawdust or something. I'm not sure. So hopefully we get to see that in the slow motion. So you can see Danny Fielwert is under review. So now my question is, what's the review? Because I thought maybe cut line was the problem, but now they seem to be looking at the safety cable for the handle, which is a very important aspect. They need to have the safety cable attached to the handle on the pull. So now it looks like they're asking Competition Control Center to look back at the video feed to make sure. And our judges might actually step off stage and take a quick look at the video, but let's see. It looks like we're going to have a decision here at the decision zone.
Okay, both cuts are good.
Whew. That's a sigh of relief right there for Denny Fielwert, who managed to get an adjustment to 9.94, and Christoph Lang with a personal best 6.22. Great cut, and Christoph Lang has just set the pace for today. I want to see back, though, in that review of Denny Fielwert, because that saw kicked at him. Let's watch here. Right here, as he transitions to the upcut, and he slipped a little bit. Oh, that could have been really dangerous. Nice clean cuts there from Christoph Lang. We saw him looking confident with that saw earlier. I even said to him that that looked like a winning saw, and it did in fact do a good job for him today. A little bit of a hover there, and that's just time and experience for Denny. It'll come though, it'll come. So a little bit of a thick cookie to start. Second cookie on the transition looked pretty good. Oh, nice and thin. A little bit of a slip there is when it happened. The angle changed drastically, and here he really needed to focus on making sure that last cut was inside the line and good, and he did manage to do that. So great job by both of those guys as we go to heat number 2 with Stefan Odwarka and Marcel Steinkemper. Marcel Steinkemper also very close to the almost under 10 seconds with his cuts lately. He's at just 10.41, so he's getting there. Meanwhile, Stefan Odwarka, he's got experience since around 2017, so he knows what it's all about. 4th place at the National Pros in 2017. And this is where that experience plays such a critical role for these guys. You saw there just really quickly on the lower third, bronze medalist at the Pro Championship 2022. So last year he was on the podium. Can he get there again this year? Can he make it good enough to get second place, or will he stay in third? As I mentioned, routine plays such a huge role for these guys, making sure that everything is done exactly the same every single time.
30 seconds.
There's the Go Baby button on Stefan Odwarka's saw. Look at the teeth on those chains. Absolutely insanely aggressive.
Athletes, ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Good start by Stefan Odwarka. Looks like he's got 3 clean cookies on the deck. Marcel Steinkemper, personal best, but he's got to go back and cut another one. Something went wrong. They stopped the time, but that's going to be adjusted up for sure. Stefan Odwarka looks pretty confident in his cuts. Dr. Jörg Kurzenberger checking him out to make sure he's got 3 good cookies on the deck. That first one looked nice and thin. And it looks like we are safe for Marcel Steinkemper as well for no cut line, but he did have a cutout on one of his cookies. You can see that one cookie that's not complete, so he had to go back and cut another one. So that's going to adjust his time as well.
Okay, both cuts are good.
All right, unfortunately for Marcel, that's an 11.56 because of having to cut a 4th cookie to make it a good cut. Otherwise, the DQ would have been completely no points at all. Right now, he's got 9 points, but Peter Bauer and Danny Martin, 2 exceptional sawyers, are coming up. And there we could see the start from Stefan Odwarka. Very nice first cookie, nice and thin. There you can see that's a beautiful thin to win cookie. That second cookie also very nice. Left him plenty of room to make any mistakes on that last cookie. He got a good thick fat one. and he'll take that time home any day of the week at a 5.98 personal best. Should have mentioned that probably off the start, but I was concentrating so much on that last cut. And here we see at the bottom of this one is the cutout by Marcel, and then he's got to go back and cut again. And that is a rough situation for Marcel, who had actually a pretty good run there going, except for that cut cookie. Tough break for Marcel, so it may well be that we won't be seeing him in that third position today, but let's see how the rest of the heat goes with our final two athletes. He's got 56 points at the moment after he's cut. And next up, we've got Peter Bauer and Danny Martin coming up onto stage for their heat, the last heat of the day. Danny Martin, he's got the national record of 4.84. He is so confident and so strong with the saw. It really all comes down to if the saw performs and behaves as it should. I've actually had that saw in my hand before. It is a beast.
All right.
Unbelievable how heavy they are. I can't even imagine what that saw looks like or feels like when it's running in your hand, let alone having to cut 3 cookies clean. All right, folks, this is it. It is the last heat of the day, and this heat will determine who your winner will be.
"30 seconds.
Peter Bauer does have a chance. It's outside, but it is there that he could take over the top spot if Danny Martin makes a fatal mistake here, but that seldom happens with Danny in this discipline. It is incredible how steady and how clean he is with these cuts on hot saw.
Athletes, ready.
This is it, folks.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Entry into the wood for Danny Martin. Perfect as always. 3 good cookies on the deck. Martin with a 6.13, but Peter Bauer with a 5.70 personal best. Peter Bauer atop the hot saw. He'll take those 18 points, but will it be enough for him to take over the top spot on the deck? We will see. It might be close. It might be close. So they've made some adjustments to the time, and it is now official at 5.59 for Peter Bauer, a personal best for that man. And Danny Martin with a 6.07 in third place now in the hot saw after the adjustments.
Okay, both cuts are good.
So we've had a clean run for the hot saw for all 6 athletes. There's no DQs. Out of the 6, they've had 3 personal bests with Christoph Lang, 6.22, Stefano Dwarka with a 5.98, and Peter Bauer with a 5.59. Fantastic final heats here for the hot saw. The question is, once we take a look at the overall standings, will it be enough for Danny Martin to stay atop, or will Peter Bauer be the man representing Germany at the World Championships? Let's see as we look back at these cuts by these 2 absolute masters of this discipline. And that was a beautiful set of transitions by Peter Bauer. We know Danny Martin is always solid here in this discipline. Let's take a look at his cuts. Clean in, thin to win. That's the way he likes to cut him, and that's the way he did it 3 times in a row. He's super solid with this one, but he was just a hair slower than Peter Bauer. So now the big question is, what does it look like in the overall? Peter Bauer wins hot saw. This is the first time that Danny Martin's had anything less than a second place in the competition today, with a third place. 12 points out of a possible 18, and the final results, it's Danny Martin with 77 points, Peter Bauer 7 points back in second place, and Stefano Dvarka will take the top, or the third place on the podium with 56 points there. What a result there. Danny Martin will be the reigning champion and will take that position atop the stand one more time, and that is 4 years in a row that Danny Martin has won the national title, and that means he will be representing Germany at the World Championships in the individual competition. And of course, you heard in the interview earlier on Peter Bauer, the team captain for Team Germany, and we'll definitely see Danny Martin and Marcel Steinkemper competing with the team. They're just going to put the final little bits and pieces together and make sure that they've got their team polished up nicely. But today, it is all about the STIHL Timbersports German Pro Championship 2023. And once again, Danny Martin atop the ranking with 3 wins out of 6 disciplines, 2 seconds, and a third. I mean, that is consistency personified there. What a great day for Danny Martin, and we'll see him definitely competing for Germany at the World Championships. All right, so we're going to head up on to the main stage where we will be presenting the awards for the top 3 positions here at the 2023 German Pro Championship for STIHL Timbersports.
Zu feiern. Ich möchte euch als allererstes auch diejenigen vorstellen, die jetzt die Medaillen und Pokale übergeben dürfen. Das ist einerseits Jörg Landsrath, Leiter Handelsmarketing Ford Werke GmbH. Herzlich willkommen, Herr Landsrath. Und vor allen Dingen auch Michael Lier, Abteilungsleiter Marketing STIHL Deutschland. Herzlich willkommen, Michael. Ja, und liebe Fans, ich möchte, dass ihr nochmal alle Reserven mobilisiert für unsere 10 Athleten, weil ich glaube, das war ein einzigartiger Wettkampf mit einem großartigen Finale und wir starten deswegen direkt.
All right, so it sounds like we're going to bring all 10 athletes up onto the stage. In 10th place, Markus Dengler.
Na, wir warten doch noch ein bisschen. Die Sportler fachsimpeln hier hinter der Bühne so ein bisschen sprechen.
Okay, apparently we have to wait just a couple of seconds more for the athletes to be ready behind the stage before we can introduce them and bring them up on stage. So we've just been given a bit of a wait signal as we are going to get them up on stage here. So we'll have the award ceremony shortly, and a couple of awards being given out. Of course, the top awards will be for the competition here today, but there will also be an award for Best Axeman by Bild and Best Sawman.
Markus Dengler!
Here we go. Now, introducing the athletes from 10th place up. Markus Dengler ending up in 10th place today. He had high hopes, but was there in the competition and kept things interesting. In 9th place, Andreas Auenhammer.
Auenhammer!
That's 9th place right there. 8th place belongs to none other than Stefan Graf.
Für den Mann aus Leutershausen, Stefan Graf.
Beautiful
Platz
location here.
Nummer 7 für
7th place belongs to Nils Müller.
Und jetzt machen wir schon einen
6th place here. Big round of applause coming here for Denny Vielwert in his first National Pro Championship. Fantastic showing for him. Among the top 10 and absolutely fantastic future coming his way, most definitely. Now we move into our top 5 athletes. Coming in 5th place, Christoph Lang.
Neue persönliche Bestzeiten und damit die Position Nummer 5 für Christoph Lang.
Great job by Christoph today. Always improving from year to year. We can expect good things from him in the future as well. The future of German timber sports is looking very, very bright. And then we have number 4 just outside the medals this year. Last year he was in the bronze medal position. This year he's going to have to settle with 4th place, Marcel Steinkemper, but you know that's going to light a fire under his bottom to make sure that he fights his way back up onto the podium positions and further up onto the top of the podium eventually.
Und jetzt heißt es, wir legen noch etwas nach. Wir schalten alle gemeinsam einen Gang höher, liebes Publikum hier in Essen, denn wir kommen zu
All right, so it is now time for our podium positions. And there you see our podium stand set in the middle of the stage. We'll start off in 3rd place with a great result today, 56 points, Stefan Odwarka. And I believe this is his best result yet, so he'll be happy about that, getting the bronze medal here today. A great job by Stefan Odwarka, who's been battling since 2017, now onto a podium spot at the National Championships. Well
Das ist er
done.
noch einmal, Stefan Odwarka.
There we could see the medals being given out by Michael Lear, the head of marketing for STIHL Deutschland, for STIHL Germany. I had breakfast with him this morning. Super nice guy and very interesting. All right, 2nd place here today. He's been there on occasion at the top of the blocks, in the middle of the blocks, and at the bottom of the blocks. But today it is silver medal for team captain Peter Bauer, and he wants some action from the audience here. Well done for him. He's been around the sport a long time and continues to show the skill and determination that is required to become a top-level competitor in timber sports. Peter Bauer, silver medal.
Ja, das ist nochmal dein Applaus, Peter. Vize-Deutscher Meister. Und in dem Moment die Trophäe übergeben von Michael Lear. So, wir kommen zum größten und
All right, and now for the 4th time, this man is on the top of the podium. He is Mr. Consistency and always battling hard. He is a warrior. He is your gold medalist. Ladies and gentlemen, number 1, Denny Martin. Danny Martin's got his fan club with him as always. A little hop up there, and there you go. German Pro Champion 2023, that's 4 times in a row.
Und Danny Martin hat sich damit direkt qualifiziert für die Teilnahme an der Einzel-Weltmeisterschaft. Er wird also Deutschland vertreten in der Porsche Arena. Ihr müsst unbedingt mit dabei sein im Livestream. Ja, und für den Best X-Man, presented by Bild, als auch für den Best Sawman gibt es aus dem Hause STIHL noch schöne Akkugeräte. Das macht natürlich doppelt Spaß.
And Danny Martin also receiving the Best Axeman by Bild. And
Danny heute auch der
gets a couple of nice little prizes there as well.
Damit auch das europäische Ranking
Something he
gewonnen.
can use to cut the small branches off of the trees in his backyard and have some good cleaning time out
So,
there.
jetzt heißt es vor allen Dingen,
And now
das Weite suchen, wenn man
the
nicht nass werden
champagne
möchte, sollte man sich
arrives
jetzt
on
hinter
deck
Erik
for the
verstecken.
guys. And Michael Leah barely escaped with his shirt dry as the guys enjoy the champagne shower, which is always big. And they attack Niels Müller, who's trying his best to hide, but no chance with boys this big hiding behind anything up there. All right, fantastic event here today. We're going to have the winner interview shortly as Danny tries to soak Toby, our stage announcer. All right, so good thing that that Toby was fast enough to get away, so that he ends up with some dry clothes for the day. A quick interview with Danny Martin now.
So, Danny Martin, vierfacher deutscher Meister. Jetzt nehmen wir erstmal herzlichen Glückwunsch, Danny. Was bedeutet dir dieser Titel?
So 4 times, what does this title mean?
Weil es dieses Jahr nach Stuttgart geht und da mein eigenes Land verteidigen darf, ist riesig.
So this one's extra special because he gets to go to Germany and defend for his country.
Ich möchte auch gerne mal weitergeben. Deine Family sitzt heute im Publikum. Du bist vor kurzem noch gemeinsam mit deiner Frau Vater geworden. Glückwunsch auch nochmal dazu. Was bedeutet dir das? Wie wichtig ist dir das, dass auch deine Familie dahinter dir steht?
Ja, das ist sehr wichtig. Das gibt richtig Kraft, besonders der ganz Kleine. Und Josef ist super. Danke.
So Danny definitely moved by having his family here. He's a new father, and his son is in the audience, so that's definitely, he says, giving him power to go further. So big congratulations to Danny Martin, your reigning and new German STIHL Timbersports Pro Champion.
Bei sport1.de und dürfen hier natürlich weiter.
All right, so folks, that's it for the competition today, but our season is not quite finished as we will head in November to Stuttgart to the Porsche Arena for the World Championship, where all the nations participating in STIHL Timbersports will, or not all, but many participating nations will participate in the World Championships. Let's take a quick look at that teaser and what we're hoping it's going to look like.
Herzlich willkommen, Stuttgart!
A new world record for Sterling Hart. To celebrate the 90th anniversary, STIHL has brought the STIHL Timbersports World Championship back to Stuttgart.
All right, so we're looking forward to the STIHL Timbersports World Championships, the 3rd and 4th of November in Stuttgart at the Porsche Arena. It's going to be a fantastic event where we'll get to see Australia, New Zealand, America. The Canadians are going to be in the house, but the big question is what European nations will be representing. So now, as the event here is over, we are now officially locked and loaded with the European rankings, and there you see Danny Martin is atop the European ranking. We'll also see Koen Martens, Mikael Dubitsky, Emil Hansen, Pierre Puy-Barret, Redmer Knoll, and Martin Roussel, along with Cyril Pabst. Unfortunately, it looks as though Austria's Armin Kugler, Great Britain's Glenn Pendlington, Vebjorn Sonsteby from Norway, and Alessandro Ciapponi will not be participating because we're only taking the top 8 athletes in the European rankings. So a few guys will be missing from that list. And Danny Martin is atop the list. And of course, as the host nation, will be definitely excited to see him there. And he'll be fired up for that. So the World Championships is now locked and loaded. Folks, we hope you guys enjoyed today's activities here in Essen, Germany at this fantastic location on the lake. Beautiful background scenery, a fantastic audience, and a winner 4 times now for Danny Martin on the top of the blocks. I'm going to say goodbye, and thank you very much for watching the show. We hope you enjoyed. My name is Troy Mannering, and I am Audi 5000. Take care, everybody, and ciao.